morning. Welcome to Daily Current Affairs session. The first topic is how does the NEP support students? So this is a long topic that we are discussing at times in break in a phased manner about the national education policy. Okay, the article discusses the 2020 National Education Policy replacing the outdated 1986 policy. It aims to improve employability by offering a flexible outcome-based education system. It includes credit-based course, skill enhancement, and allows students to exit and re-enter the program. Why was the NDP updated? Outdated policy. The old policy from 1986 was not updated for 34 years, making it irrelevant for modern needs. Employability issues: graduates lack the skill needed for today's job market, with many industries and jobs now existing and did not exist 20 years ago. Technological challenge: the rise of the internet and industry 40 drastically changed job requirement. Need for modern skills: the NEP focused on soft skill, technical skills for research, problem solving, and critical thinking. How does the NEP support the student? Flexible learning path. The NEP allows students to pause their education for work and return later. This facilitates lifelong learning. So, recognition of the prior learning, students can earn credit for work experience related to their studies, contributing towards Outcome-based learning, each course has specific learning outcomes measured through assessment. This ensures targeted and effective education. University autonomy, institutions like the Delhi University allow students to choose majors and minors along with electives. This offers a multidisciplinary education. Credit-based course, the NEP includes generic elective and skill enhancement course which equip students with employability and entrepreneurial skill. What criticism does the NEP face? The dilution of the core content. Critics argue that NEP might dilute the core content of higher education, increase bureaucratic burden. Some believe the NEP burdens students and educators with more bureaucratic requirements, premature, uh, premature concerns. Many criticisms are seen as premature and in some cases overemphasized. University autonomy issue. Much criticism centers around syllabus design and content, which is universally university specific issue. For instance, the university does has done excellent work in adapting the NEP. Resource need, more resources are needed to fully realize the NEP potential, as infrastructure development is a long-term process. Issues with the statutory regulatory authorities. The article highlights the need for improving the governance of powerful regulators that currently hold significant influence over the Indian economy and citizens' lives. There are over 20 statutory regulatory authorities in India overseeing sectors ranging from finance and telecommunications to healthcare and transportation. Together, these bodies directly regulate more than 75% of the India's GDP, gross domestic product. This highlights their important role in maintaining sectoral integrity and consumer protection. Regulatory bodies' effectiveness is not just about their leaders. Leadership influences strategy and moral, but institutional design with check and balance is equally crucial for this. No doubt the NEP is good, but it needs a proper implementation and its proper focusing and proper execution by different institutions. If they are focused properly, then it will definitely do wonder for the education system in the country. But it needs to be strengthened and properly implemented. What are the issues with the statutory regulatory authority in India? Next topic, consolidated power and economic impact in India. The statutory regulatory bodies emerge authority, emerge legislative, executive, and judicial power, giving them significant authority over specific sector. This authority enables them to oversee and regulate entire entities within their jurisdiction. This enormous power can affect private sector confidence, potentially slowing down innovation and holding back India's economic growth. Appointment process. Currently, most senior personnel of the Special Regulatory Authority are former current government officials. Okay, appointment process. Currently, most senior personnel of the SRC are former or current government officials. This is because the appointment process is largely controlled by the executive government, which limited involvement of external expert. The tenure of the appointees are inconsistent and uncertain. Delegating lawmaking authority to unelected bodies in democracy. Elected bodies accountable to the public hold the authority to make law. When this authority is delegated to unelected bodies, rigorous safeguards are necessary. Many Indian law do not outline clear procedure for regulators to exercise this authority, leading to democratic and legitimacy deficit. Lack of accountability. Most Indian statutory regulatory authorities are mainly accountable through parliamentary oversight, which includes open discussion on their yearly performance and financial report. However, these discussions have never taken place in the Indian Parliament for any statutory regulatory authority. What should be the way forward? appointment reforms. There is a need to create a diverse group of subject matter experts that have predictable and fixed long tenures in regulatory bodies. Autonomy, there is a need to align legislative provisions to empower all SRs to regulate without needing government approval. This other autonomy needs sufficient human resources and financial independence. However, these provisions must include check and balance to prevent abuse of power. Clear guidelines, legislative guidelines should outline how regulators are to perform their executive and judicial function. Robust accountability. Accountability reforms should focus on three key areas: re-establishing a well-structured board with clear function and roles, introducing appeals process at tribunals, conducting audits by the Competent Auditor General of India, mandatory open discussion on their yearly performance and financial report by the Parliamentary Committee, implementing recommendations of Financial Sector Legislative Reforms Commission. The Commission proposed extensive government reforms applicable to all special regulatory authorities across India. It is now important to revisit and update this report to align with current requirements and prominently implement its recommendations. Reason for the rural urban inflation graph, the next topic. Inflation is a rising in the prices of essential goods and services. this article discuss the issue inflation rates in rural area compared to urban area. It explains the difference in energy uses and access to LPG gas, as well as economic shift like urban rural migration and changes in industrial output contribute to this inflation gap. The article also mentions how these inflation. Okay. As of May, urban inflation in India is 4.2%, while rural inflation is higher. The gap average 1.3 percent point over the last 3 months. Rural areas experience significantly higher fuel and light inflation, 7.5 percentage points above the urban rates. The reason for this rural urban inflation gap, diverse energy source. Rural area use a variety of unregulated local available fuels such as coal, coke, charcoal, firewood, and dung cakes. Unlike urban area that primarily rely on electricity and LPG, this has resulted in rural fuel and light inflation average 7.5% percentage. Okay. This has resulted in the rural urban fuel and light inflation averaging 7.5% percentage point above urban inflation over the last 3 months. Limited access to LPG as of 2021, less than half the all rural household has access to LPG compared to 90% in urban area. Despite government effort to increase LPG through the price cuts, Ujala Yojana scheme and the 400% discount of the on the electricity cylinder, high global energy price in 2022 reduced LPG consumption in rural area, forcing rural household to revert to cheaper traditional fuel like cow dung cakes, so agricultural residues and firewoods, etc. because they are able to collect it free of cost. Okay. Impact of migration trade. The pandemic triggered a significant urban to rural migration, which has not fully reversed. This has increased demand in rural area, straining local supply chains and pushing up prices on items like vegetables and cereals. Economic shift, slow recovery in sector like textile, garments, tobacco, and leather, which typically accounts for about 15% of the manufacturing and employ one third of India's industrial workforce, has affected rural areas significantly as these sectors have not yet reached pre-pandemic output level. This slow recovery combined with high migration rates from rural to urban area affects wage levels and spending pattern influencing inflation rates. Importance of written national security strategy. The article discusses the Chief of Defence Staff's comment on the Indian national security strategy. He noted that while policy processes and practices exist, written policy is missing. This raises questions about the prolonged drafting process and the need for an official NSS to ensure clarity, accountability, and effective defense planning. Why is there a debate on the NSS? Missing written policy. The Chief of the Defence Staff mentioned that India lacked a written NSS, questioning the necessity of having one. So, prolonged drafting process for the past 2 decades, multiple drafts of the NSS have been incorporated without finalization. Unclear progress. The Defence Planning Committee, set up in 2018, was tasked with formalizing the NSS, but this process remain unknown. The current directive inadequate. India relies on the RM operation directives, which is seen as insufficient. So, how does other country handle this national security situation? China publishes periodic white paper on its national security strategy, despite being generally opaque in its policy. Pakistan has released this first national security policy in 2022-26. Israel does not have any written national security strategy document but manages its security strategy effectively. India's context, unlike this country, India. Okay, so Indian context, unlike this country, India currently relies on the RM's operational directive, which is seen as cryptic and inadequate. The lack of written NSS in India raises concern about operational clarity, decision making, and the need for a coherent national security framework because security is emerging as a big threat. So, without a proper strategy, it will be too difficult for managing it on a long term. That for a country like India, it needs to be properly followed and have its own strategic that national security strategy like other countries. Why is written NSS important? Clear strategy. A written national security strategy would foster a whole of nation approach, ensuring synergy in harnessing comprehensive national power. Milestone setting, it helps set clear milestone for capacity building, modernization, infrastructure development, and the Atmanirbhar mission. Accountability, the present system of reviews by the Parliamentary Standing Committee and Auditor General is suboptimal. A written NSS could allow for better review and audits using net assessment and statistical tools. Operational clarity, the NSS could provide clear-cut ends, wage and means, fostering initiative, innovation and improvisation at the operational level. Leadership and the command, a clearly spelled out NSS could foster initiative, innovation and improvisation at the cutting edge level, essential for the operationalization of the theater commands and transformation. What should be done? Adopt a written policy. India should have a written national security strategy to foster a whole nation approach and ensure strategic clarity. That is a requirement which is very, very important. It should be realized and should be implemented fast. Improve defense planning, establish new integrated capability plan and defense capability acquisition plan to provide clear milestones for modernization and infrastructure development. And the current transition stage is concerning enhance decision making, implement the NSS to reduce over centralization and foster a decentralized directive style of command, encouraging initiative and innovation at the operational level. Next, so that this article highlights the importance and the need of the national security strategy because so the security situation is very volatile now in India. Then hybrid versus electric vehicles. The article provides an overview of the debating surrounding electric and hybrid vehicle in India. The International Energy Agency notes that India's road transport sector contribute about 12% of the country's carbon dioxide emission, which make it the third largest greenhouse gas emitter after energy and agriculture. Since 2015, the government has been working on reduced carbon emission through initiatives such as the FAME, Faster Adoption and Manufacture of Hybrid and Electric Vehicles (FAME) program. It started with incentive for electric and hybrid vehicles, but the policy has gradually shifted away from supporting hybrid and new emphasis on electric vehicles only. From hybrid to electric, the shift has been. Little attention is paid to hybrid trucks, even though freight trucks, which make up to 5% of the vehicles, contribute 34% of the emission. Hybrid in passenger cars offer 25 to 30% better fuel efficiency compared to internal combustion engine, despite being less common in the market. Hybrid have some smaller battery pack and slightly higher total ownership cost because of the tax difference, although they are currently taxed more than the internal combustion engine vehicles. Hybrid tend to have the least environmental impact among the that ICE and the electric vehicle options. What are the argument against the adoption of the electric vehicle? In India, more than 75% of the electricity generated from coal, which causes emission when charging EVs. When assessing policy of the ICE, hybrid and EV, it is important to carefully consider their impact on reducing the emissions. Examining lifestyle emissions, that kilometer usage, production, mining, cycling, and total cost of ownership reveals that electric vehicles often emit more than both ICE vehicles and the hybrid in many instances. In India, the focus mainly remains on emission and cost during the usage phase, with less attention given to factors like battery replacement cost. Sourcing raw materials such as cobalt, nickel, and lithium for battery electric vehicle pose challenges. What should be the way forward? There is a need to adopt a balanced approach in the context of the shift towards cleaner grid and promoting the electrification of transport. Enhancement of efficiency of electric vehicles should be recognized and policies should be adopted and accommodated technological advance and shift in industry sector. FAME 3 policy should treat hybrid equally for subsidies to support a range of technological solution and aim to achieving the zero emission objective. Then the next is the GST Council meeting after the new government took over. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman called the first GST meeting as the new government was formed. the GST completed 7 years in June 2024 because it was implemented first July 2017. 7 year completed. In April, revenue hit a record of 2.1 lakh crore due to year-end compliance. May saw the slight dip to 1,27,739 crore, up only 10% from the last year, but slower growth since July 21 amidst COVID-19 disruption. Domestic transaction revenue grew by 15.3% faster than the previous month. In the first month of the current fiscal year, revenue were 3% higher than the monthly average of 1.68 lakh crore in 2022-23-24. However, there was a decline in revenue from goods import for the second time in 3 months, showing some instability. So GST has emerged as a big source of revenue for the government since it was implemented. So government has been able to generate huge amount of GST revenue, and both the central government and the state government are getting the tax benefit. The huge revenue are being generated by both on due to the region of implementation of the GST. So there has been uneven revenue growth rate across states, with 5 states experiencing decline in May and 8 growing slower than the national average. Council meeting frequency, it is usually expected to meet quarterly. However, only 6 meetings have been held since 2022. Quarterly meeting was expected, means in 3 months interval the meeting should be there as per the provisions. But in the current agenda of the GST Council meeting for the first time since October last year has routine tasks such as reviewing past decisions and providing clarifications. There is also a push to advance broader reforms, including rationalizing the GST complex rate structure and lowering levies on items like cement and insurance. The council aims to simplify compliance, especially for small farms. What should be the way forward? The GST Council needs to meet more frequently. It has convened only 6 times in 2022, well below the expected quarterly meeting. There is a need to include currently excluded items such as electricity and petroleum products in the GST framework to facilitate easier credit claiming to business. The council should prioritize reforms to achieve the original goal of making GST a simpler and more efficient tax system. This includes restarting work on rationalizing the rate structure and ensuring all business benefits from simplified procedures. Then the next is the school inbox initiative in Assam. Amid devastating floods and landslides claiming lives, children in relief camps will receive educational support through school inbox initiative. Designed by UNICEF, this kit cater to children aged 6 to 18, providing learning material to ensure education continuity despite displacement and the trauma of disaster. The initiative to provide school inbox kit during Assam's flood reflects several ethical values. It prioritizes compassion and care by addressing the educational needs of the children amidst trauma. The initiative demonstrates compassion and care for vulnerable population. Equity and inclusion, the kit are designed to cater to children aged 6 to 18, ensuring inclusivity and equitable access to educational resources regardless of age or background. Responsibility and accountability, training sessions for officials and grassroots workers underscore a commitment to reasonably, responsibly managing relief efforts, ensuring accountability in education and relief camp operations. Empathy and support, by considering the psychological impact of displacement, the initiative shows empathy and provides essential support to help children overcome trauma and continue their education. Sustainability initiatives such as installing sanitary napkins, vending machines in relief camps reflect a sustainable approach to addressing broader health and hygienic needs, promoting dignity and well-being of the children, girls especially. Then the 5G Intelligent Village Initiative, Department of Telecommunication has announced two innovative proposals: the 5G Intelligent Village and Quantum Encryption algorithms to drive technological advancement in the telecom sector. Aim is the 5G Intelligent Village Initiative aims to uplift rural communities, harnessing the transformative power of the 5G technology. So, address key sectors such as agriculture, education, healthcare, governance, and sustainability. It utilizes ultra reliable, low latency communication and massive machine type communication features of 5G in selected villages. It addresses key sectors such as agriculture, education, healthcare, and governance and sustainability. About the quantum encryption algorithms, use quantum computing techniques to encrypt messages into quantum states that are communicated to the decrypted by the recipient. Our goal is to develop an anti-India specific quantum encryption algorithms in securing digital communications using quantum machines. Okay, so feature the algorithm aims to provide unparalleled security, advanced encryption capability, and ultra fast and efficient encryption. These proposals will be funded under the Telecom Technology Development Fund scheme of the Department of Telecommunication. So, Technology Development Fund, it was established under the Universal Service Obligation Fund of the DOT, Government of India. This Universal Obligation Fund (USOF) is the fund to which the urban telecom service provider contribute, so the service can be made available in the rural area, because rural area, due to low tele density, the availability of the the cost of the service cannot be recovered, but which is done in the urban area. Purpose to promote the ecosystem for research, design, prototyping, proof of concept testing, IPR creation, field testing, security certification, and manufacturing of telecom products. Then super hydrophobic catalyst. A global team of scientists has developed a super hydrophobic catalyst that significantly reduce the cost of producing biodiesels. This catalyst, which is water repellent and derived from biomass, can lower biodiesel production cost from the current 1.2 per liter to 37 cent per liter. The catalyst robustness allow it to withstand the water byproducts of biodiesel production, making the process more efficient and cost effective. The research published in the Advanced Functional Materials suggests this innovation could promote wider adoption of biodiesels as a sustainable energy source, offering an environmentally friendly and economically viable alternative to traditional fossil fuels. Then the capsaicin. Denmark has recalled several spicy Korean instant ramen noodles produced by the Somang due to concern over high level of capsaicin, which could cause acute poisoning. Capsaicin, the compound that give chili peppers their heat, can cause inflammation and irritation in the digestive tract, potentially leading to symptoms like abdominal pains, diarrhea, and vomiting. Despite the risk, a moderate consumption of the spicy food can offer benefit like pain relief, antibacterial properties, a boosted metabolism, improved cardiovascular health, and anti-cancer effect. Then pigment purpurellin. A team of scientists from the UK and Canada traced the evolution of the purple glacier algae, revealing their significant impact on glaciers and challenging the traditional evolutionary theories. These algae, which thrives in extreme glacial environment, have evolved to produce a purple pigment, purpurellin, that protect them from the UV and visible light, aiding their survival. So the study showed that these adaptations likely emerged 520 to 455 million years ago, rather than during the snowball Earth period as previously thought. This suggests a more recent glacial period drove their evolution. The algae's ability to simplify rather than increase its complexity contradicts the traditional marks of progress hypothesis in evolution. These adaptations have enabled glacial algae to persist and significantly affect glacier melt, highlighting their role in fragile ecosystem and the importance of understanding their evolution in the context of climate change. Coming to the question, how do the meeting of the Arctic ice and glacier of the Antarctica directly affect the weather pattern and human activity on the Earth? In September 2020, Arctic sea ice reached its second lowest minimum extent on record at 3.74 million square kilometers, a stark indicator of the ongoing climate crisis. This melting of the Arctic ice and Antarctic glaciers play a crucial critical role in regulating the Earth climate and oceanic system, and further poses serious threat to environmental stability and human livelihoods. Impact of the weather pattern. Jet stream alterations. Melting Arctic ice weaken the polar jet stream, causing more extreme weather events such as harsher winter in North America and Europe and the heat wave elsewhere. For example, in 2021, Texas cold wave was attributed to the weekend jet stream. Thawing permafrost releases methane a potent greenhouse gas accelerating global warming. For example, the Siberian permafrost thawing released significant methane levels in 2020. Amplification of the global warming: the Arctic is warming at twice the global average rate, leading to a positive feedback loop where melting ice exposes dark ocean surface that absorbs more heat. For example, the Arctic amplification effect has been noted in the Barents Sea region. Ocean circulation disruption: melting Arctic ice affect the Atlantic meridional overturning circulation, potentially weakening the Gulf Stream and impacting weather pattern across the northern hemisphere. For example, slowing of the MOC has been linked to more extreme weather pattern in Europe, as we have seen in the last year. Biodiversity change: loss of sea ice affects marine and terrestrial ecosystem, altering species distribution and their behavior also, because they migrate from one area to another area. For example, polar bear and seal are increasingly threatened by the habitat loss. Okay, temperature extremes: increased absorption of solar radiation due to ice loss leads to more pronounced temperature extreme in the Arctic region. For example, record high temperature in the Arctic Circle, reaching 30 degrees centigrade in the Siberia in 2020. Antarctic glacier melting: sea level rise. Melting Antarctic glacier contributes significantly to the general sea level rise or global sea level rise, affecting coastal regions worldwide. For example, the Throit Glacier in Western Antarctica alone could raise sea level by over 3 meters if it collapses completely. So 3 meter the sea level will rise. That thermohaline circulation: fresh water from the melting glacier can disrupt thermohaline circulation, impacting global climate system, including El Nino and the La Nina phenomena, the warm and the dry in current phase in the ocean. For example, change in the southern ocean salinity have been linked to the altered El Nino pattern. Sudden stratospheric warming: melting glacier can lead to sudden stratospheric warming in Antarctica, affecting weather patterns in the southern hemisphere, such as increased wildfire incident in Australia. For example, in 2019 to 2020, Australian bushfire were partly attributed to Antarctic SSW, sudden stratospheric warming. So albedo effects: reduced ice cover decreases the Earth albedo effect, leading to higher temperature and accelerated melting. For instance, the Antarctic Peninsula has been significantly ice losses, contributing to reduced albedo. Biodiversity impact: loss of ice affects marine ecosystem, disrupting the habitat of species such as krill, which are crucial for Antarctica food web. For example, decline in krill population have been observed impacting penguin and other marine species because they are their prey. Ocean acidification: increased melting leads to more fresh water entering the ocean, which can alter the pH level and contribute to ocean acidification, which will be harmful for the marine ecosystem. For example, the Southern Ocean is experiencing fresh rates for acidification, impacting the marine life. Impact of human activity: Arctic region, community vulnerability: indigenous community like that Inuit face challenges as traditional hunting grounds become inaccessible due to melting ice. For example, that Inuit hunters in North Greenland struggle to hunt seals and the walrus. Economic opportunity: melting ice opens new shipping routes, reducing travel distance between major ports and making untapped resources like oil and gas more accessible. For example, the Northern Sea route offers a shorter path from Europe to Asia compared to the Suez Canal. Resources access: melting ice exposes new area for minerals and hydrocarbon exploration, providing economic opportunities. For example, Greenland has seen increased interest in rare earth mineral extraction. Then tourism changes: changing ice condition affect Arctic tourism both positively and negatively. For example, increased interest in the Arctic cruise as ice recedes, but also heighten the risk. fishery impact, changing the conditions affect marine ecosystem, impacting fishery and the local economies. For example, northward shift in the fish population affect commercial fishery in the Arctic. The Antarctica region, agriculture and food security, rising sea level from Antarctic melt waters inundates coastal agricultural lands, reducing arable lands and impacting food security. For example, the coastal rice paddies in Bangladesh are increasingly threatened by the saltwater intrusion. Infrastructure and urban areas, coastal cities face increased risk from storm surge and erosion. For instance, Indonesia is planning to move its capital from the Jakarta to the Nusantara due to flooding risk of the old capital called Jakarta. The disaster management, increased frequency of extreme weather events such as the heat wave and superstorms necessitates improved disaster preparedness and management strategy that need to be planned and executed separately, and that is a difficult situation, needs more investment and technological upgradation. For instance, the rise in frequency of superstorm necessitates better disaster planning in coastal cities like New York. Tourism disruption, melting ice impact tourism activities, especially in the coastal and marine regions, as ice conditions change unpredictably. Biodiversity loss, change in ice cover affect marine and terrestrial ecosystem, impacting species diversity and abundance. For example, decline in penguin population have been observed due to changing breeding habitats. Research and scientific studies, melting ice provides new opportunities and challenges for scientific research in understanding climate change impact. For example, increased access to previously ice covered areas has expanded research opportunity in the Antarctica region. So the melting of Antarctica ice and Arctic and Antarctica glaciers urgently requires coordinated global action, as highlighted in the recent IPCC Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change reports to tackle this pressing issue and safeguard the future of our planets. Without immediate intervention, the impact will likely become irreversible, further endangering the planet's environmental and socio-economic stability. So thank you for watching. Watch regular to update yourself.